Well, we all know that Xbox is about to have one of the biggest events this year in X019. But what we don't know is what exactly is going to be shown at this new event. Now, if we remember last year, they came with a bunch of games and showed gameplay of one of their biggest games of the year in Crackdown 3 with their X018 event. This event last year was built around the hype for the spring releases that were coming, and as we saw this last year, those spring releases weren't the biggest games, but also they weren't games made by Xbox. But this year, it feels like this new event is something much bigger than last year. It feels like Xbox is coming with a lot of content and is going to try and build a lot of hype for the first half of 2020. But not only that, it's an event that's going to be surrounding by these new studios, new games, new technology, and most importantly, a new console generation. Now, I know we all don't want to get hyped for this show because it's not E3, and what could we possibly expect to see from this event? And while I would say let's temper expectations, I do have to point out that this event is much bigger than the one we saw last year. Xbox has flown out multiple media influencers and have talked about this event being almost an E3 level event. So I want to talk about the main points of this event, which will probably be games, xCloud, new studios, and of course, Project Scarlett. So let's dive into this event and see exactly what is going to happen and what we might see there. But before we jump into the fun, if you liked the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about are the games that will be at the new Xbox event. Of course, they've announced multiple games to appear at the show, but this video wouldn't be as exciting if we didn't try to speculate which games will show up at the show in a surprising manner. So let's first talk about the games that we know will be there, and then move on to the games that I think might show up and surprise the gaming world. First game that I'm almost certain will be at the show has to be Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which will be the highly anticipated sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, we know this game is going to be made by Moon Studios, and we have a release date set at February 11, 2020. With the first game getting such high praise and even being people's game of the year when it released, we can only expect this game to be made with the same passion and care as the first. So that means great quality AA game that has a AAA care given to it. I expect to see more gameplay from this game and hear a lot of people's take on the game, especially since they've most likely been able to play the game. So keep your eye out for Ori and the Blind Forest. The next game I see standing at the forefront of this event has to be Bleeding Edge from Ninja Theory. We already know that Ninja Theory is famous for making story-driven games that have great gameplay mechanics attached to them, but Bleeding Edge is a 4v4 team fighter. Here's what the official Xbox website that talks about X019 says about Bleeding Edge. Bleeding Edge is a 4v4 team fighter that combines third-person action combat with online team multiplayer. Bleeding Edge features a diverse roster of fighters that fit into assassin, support, or heavy archetypes, with a mix of ranged and melee combat styles. Bleeding Edge's moment-to-moment gameplay is all about combos, dodging, timing, and dexterity, but ultimately, you'll need good teamwork, synergy, and strategy to secure the win. Now, as a person that fancies himself a multiplayer gamer, I have to say I'm looking forward to this game, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. Because we saw this game at E3 earlier this year, but we still didn't get a ton of gameplay that we can wrap our brains around. So expect this game to be one of the biggest games at the event, especially since it's Ninja Theory's first game as an Xbox first-party studio. Next up is Battletoads, which is being made by Rare. This is going to be a side-scrolling co-op action brawler. You'll be able to play as Rash, Zitz, and Pimple, the three toads that make up the Battletoads. Now, I know this game gets a lot of flack for being a super small AA game and not this huge AAA game that most people wanted. But to me, this game is going to be a small, chill game to play with friends, and I think it'll show up at the event and have some gameplay attached to it with the release date coming next year or even early next year. Next up, we have Minecraft Dungeons, which I think could be one of the biggest games to release next year. We all know that Minecraft is one of the biggest games of all time, so it's no surprise that Minecraft Dungeons could follow in its footsteps. Especially after what we saw on the E3 stage at 2019, this game is going to be shown at X019 and it's going to be one of Microsoft's staple games in the spring. It reminds me of a family-friendly Diablo-esque game. I'm actually looking forward to this game because I love to play games that require you to dungeon dive and grab new gear and get new abilities, and best of all, play with your friends. So expect this game to be shown a lot, but also have a lot of people playing the game at the event. Get ready to hear a lot of media types talking about this game, especially when they get their hands on gameplay with it. Now we move on to Age of Empires 2 and probably Age of Empires 4, which has been rumored to be in development for so long. We've seen a reveal trailer for Age of Empires 4 so many years ago, and finally we will see more of Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition along with 4. Now this part is more speculative because I truly think that Age of Empires 4 is going to show up at X019, and if it doesn't, it will show up at E3 2020. Either way, this game is in the making, and they announced a studio that's going to focus on the franchise, so expect this to be announced or hinted at. Either way, as a strategy lover, I can't wait to see what this game is all about, and I want to see what developers and talent they have behind it. This next game is a game I can't wait to play because I recently saw gameplay for it and it's instantly got me excited for it, and that's Wasteland 3. Jez Gordon recently wrote an article talking about this game, and he posted an hour-long gameplay video to show what he was talking about, and I have to say this game looks so polished and right up my alley. Here's what the official Xbox news site says about it. Wasteland 3 is a post-apocalyptic RPG from inXile Entertainment. Set in the perpetual nuclear winter of Colorado, players will face challenging tactical combat, explore an interactive world, and engage in a deep story full of brutal ethical decisions. Create and customize a squad in single player or co-op, and whether you go in guns blazing or trying to smooth over a situation through peaceful negotiation, your choices will mean life or death for those trying to survive in this harsh and unforgiving world. Now that's what I'm talking about. Playing a strategy game in co-op is my cup of tea. I love nothing more than to play with a buddy and plan our best course of action. You throw in the RPG elements of the game and you have a massive game that could honestly take gamers hours upon hours to complete. And if you read what other people have said about the game, then you already know this game has gotten a huge boost in budget ever since Xbox acquired inXile. That means better textures in the game along with graphics and overall scale. I can't wait to see what this game is. Now these next couple of games are games I hope to see at the event, so take it with a grain of salt. First up is Gears Tactics. This game was announced at E3 2018, and ever since then there's been nothing on it. I've sat and waited to hear about this game for too long. So at this point I hope the Coalition brings something at X019 and surprises us with new gameplay of the game along with details about it, and maybe, just maybe, a release date. Even though there hasn't been any kind of hint about this game, I'm still holding out hope for this game, and I can't wait to see any type of news surrounding it. So let's keep an eye out for the game, and I hope the Coalition comes in and surprises us. Now we move on to the next Ninja Theory game. Not Bleeding Edge, but the other game that the A-Team is working on. It's been about 2 years since the team launched Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, so I think it's a perfect time for the studio to announce a little something about their next big game. Ninja Theory has been hiring like crazy, and so we know they're up to something. Let's hope we get any type of news regarding their new game, and maybe just a title card, something to give us hope for the future of Ninja Theory. Now this next game is probably the biggest one, and it has to be Fable 4. We all know that Playground Games is working on a huge open world RPG. It's basically the worst kept secret in gaming, but even then they haven't announced what the game is and not one mention of what exactly is coming from the studio. Every single Xbox fan is basically waiting for the announcement, and maybe, just maybe, X019 is the time for them to reveal the game. This will build up a lot of hype for the next half of the year until we reach E3, where they can announce all types of crazy cool things. Either way, I can't wait to see if Fable 4 is actually in development or if Xbox executed the biggest misdirection ever. Now that's all the games I think will be there for the first party developers. Of course I might have missed a couple, but that's all I truly think will be there. But I'm sure we'll see Jedi Fallen Order be a big part of the show, especially since Xbox has the advertising rights to it. Not to mention Doom Eternal or other games like Cyberpunk, which can have a surprise appearance. Either way, we know the show will be packed with so many games it will make our heads spin. So I can't wait to see this event, even just for the games. But that's not all that's going to be there. Let's get into the services part of the show. As we know, Game Pass is a huge part of Microsoft's plan for gaming. So expect to see a couple of cool games to be announced that will probably drop in Xbox Game Pass the day of the event. They usually surprise with pretty big games like Metro Exodus or Doom, so keep an eye out for that. I'm sure we'll get a AAA game dropped in Xbox Game Pass that people can play that day. And speaking of developers, I truly think that Xbox will announce 1 or 2 new studios. one of which I believe will be a Japanese-based studio that will focus on making JRPG games, but also build relationships with other Japanese developers. This has been hinted at for so long by Phil Spencer himself that I think it's about time they talk about the new studio. I don't think they'll just buy a new Japanese-based studio. Instead, I think they will build this from the ground up. As for the other studios, I have no idea who they're targeting, and I honestly like that, because unlike last year, Xbox has had zero leaks when it comes to the internal moves they're doing. Nothing has come out of their base, and to me that builds the hype for X019 even more. Especially last year at X018 when they announced Obsidian Entertainment. Everybody knew it was coming, yet if they didn't know, that event would have been much more impactful. Either way, like last year's event, expect to see 2 new studios joining the already 15 studio strong Xbox family. And I have to say, I think they'll also bring up Xbox's streaming service xCloud, especially with Google Stadia launching and coming to people's homes. I expect this to be somewhat of a showing for xCloud. Will they focus a lot of the show on this? No, but they will talk about the beta that's currently happening and probably talk about what to expect from xCloud in the next year or so. Will they talk about price and other things like that? Maybe, but I truly think they don't want to bog down the show talking about something that isn't ready for the masses yet. So expect them to have a small segment regarding xCloud. But now let's move on to the hardware part of the show, which will probably be a closing part of the show, something to get people excited for the next generation. Because remember, this is basically the last XO event before the new generation starts. And ever since Sony has brought up so many new specs about their system and talked about it the last couple of months, I expect Xbox to come out and show a little bit more about their new system. Will they show us the system and the specs? Of course not, but I do expect them to talk about the Project Scarlett and give even more hints about its hardware specs. Now, one of my bold predictions is that they will announce the name of the console to drive hype for the new Xbox. Because in an interview before, Greenberg has said they have the name down internally. So let's see if they give us that name to get fans excited for the next couple of months until E3 happens next summer. Now, of course, I think they'll talk about the new V2 Elite controller, which a lot of people have loved from what I've seen. So expect a little segment about that also. Either way, I can't wait to see what they bring to the table hardware-wise. Woo! Now that's a lot of information, and I tried to cram it all into one video, which was a task in and of itself. But I do hope you all enjoyed it and are just as hyped as I am of the new Xbox event. We've seen Xbox executives talk about X019 in interviews or even on Twitter, hyping it up as a pretty big deal. Aaron Greenberg himself even tweeted this: "Our X019 show is focused on games, 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 games." This type of enthusiasm gets me excited because it does show that Xbox is going to provide us with a great show filled with games that we will all get to play on Xbox Game Pass. But I do have to say, we all should keep our expectations in check, because as much as this show looks to be big, this still isn't E3 levels big. And since it isn't E3, don't expect the massive announcements like E3 and don't expect the big showing like E3. But then again, who knows? Maybe Xbox is trying something different and they want to make this event a yearly thing where they go all out and provide great content to their fans. Either way, I'm excited for the event and I can't wait to see what they show us. As Xbox fans, we have to appreciate the effort being put forward. But enough about what I think. Tell me what you think about this. What games do you want to see at the event? How long do you think the event is going to be? Are you expecting E3 levels of hype? What new studio or studios do you want to see join Xbox? Do you think Fable 4 will be announced? Do you think Ninja Theory will show their new game? Are you expecting Xbox Scarlett news? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. And also follow me on Mixer. I recently started streaming on Mixer because I find the community much more engaging and fun. So if you want to hang out and chat with me, I'm very active with my chat and always playing games. The link will be in the description. I hope to see you guys there. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.